Hello. Hello, good evening. Hello. It is me. I am here. I am the only one that is here. Oh. Hello, Mongoose. How are you? Doo-doo. There we go. I hope everyone enjoyed the week break from the show. What? You're saying that you wanted to listen to the show when it wasn't there? What? Hey, Draco Kraken. My passive perception caught the notification. Howdy. Hey. Good. Because we're going to be talking about that. Look at you. Getting all in the spirit of the discussion already. Wow. Yeah, hello. And welcome back to TableTalk Discussion and Discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Right on 95. So, been a week. Technically two since the last episode. Things have happened. Crazy things. Talked about it in the Discord, and we'll talk about it again later. It's a strange world that we live in, and it will never cease to be crazy to me. Sorry, I had to move the chat to live chat because I forgot that I didn't have it on that. I had it on top chat. So, there we go. It's better now. I promise. So today, oh well, we're gonna be talking about perception and some problems that some people have with it. Now I won't lie to you. I did not have a topic for today until I was looking, as I do, at videos before the show, and this video popped up called passive skill mechanics versus rolling dice in D&D by the DM layer. Excuse me. A person that we've covered. A lad that we've covered a few times, right? And I figured that that we'd go over his points again, because I saw this, and then I didn't watch it at all because I was like, "Ooh, I'm interested actually," because the thumbnail, if I can find it, is there a way to look at just thumbnails actually? Hold on, this is something that I've never done. Thumbnail viewer? Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah. No. YouTube thumbnail grabber? Yeah, that works. Sure. Because I want to show off what the thumbnail was, because it caught my attention. Because of course it did. That's what it's supposed to do. Yeah, you'll be able to see this. So, the thumbnail, I pull it up, was this right here. It has passive perception ruined D&D. And I was like, huh. What? Huh? Interesting. Now, also, I was the only one here. So I gotta do this. I'm still here. So I was like, huh. Has it? That's an interesting thing to say. I don't think so. Now, that may be because I don't use passive checks as often as I should be, quote unquote. Though I also find that passive checks are, at least to me, I think passive checks are slightly unnecessary, right? They're a good way to have a baseline thing, So, well, a baseline thing. A way to come up with a baseline for each character. Unfortunately, my internet has decided that 2 minutes behind is not enough of a buffer, so I'll try to pop in later. Well, okay. See you, Draco Kraken. Hope to see you later. Yeah, so I think passive skills, like, the way that you calculate passive perception, and passive any skill is 10 plus the skill in D&D 5e, right? And I think that it's good for if you need a thing to represent, like, what anyone can see, if that's something that is absolutely necessary, right? Looks like it's just you and me. Yeah, you know Mongoose. It's cool. So I think that it's more useful for newer players. I think that's what passive perception and passive checks in general are good for. Because usually, at least in my experience, in my brain, everything is kind of, hey, Slay, lurking? Yeah, no worries. Lurk as much as you want. Usually with how I construct things, at least, I usually think about what people can see playing No Man's Sky. Nice. Boo actually got that for me, and wanted to play that together as well, you know? Hello, August. How are you doing? I've yet to start it, because I'm just, it's cool, but I have many games that I've been playing. Anyway, yeah, usually when I construct things, I usually think about what people can see or what people can do and all that kind of stuff. Big update last week. Is that what I downloaded today? That would make sense. Yeah, so I'm thinking at least for an experienced player, passive perception is kind of unnecessary. But it is a helpful tool regardless, right? Because if you keep track of passive skills, you can just go, oh, whenever they go into this area, they'll see most of this stuff, right? And you can kind of make it more special, quote unquote. You can specify what certain people are noticing because that's the skills that they have, right? Especially with something like the observant feat, if you're using that in 5e, it adds to your passive perception so you don't miss shit when it's passive. But there is a big difference between passive and active, where passive things are just things that you'll notice, whereas if something is hidden, quote unquote, right, or if it is something that you need to discover some other way, you'll need to make the roll for it. Which kind of goes off into the other thing that I see, at least I saw in the second video, which we'll cover, later. But there are problems where people will ask for perception checks all the time, right? Or not know when to ask, right? Apparently, there's a lot of issues there with asking to use perception. Now, I don't know about that, right? I assume if somebody is going in every room and saying, I make a perception check, right? That's a little annoying. But usually, at least I think, and this could be wrong, I'm perfectly willing to be wrong about this, but I think that it's usually something to do with descriptions, right? If you're in a room and it's described to you, usually you'll find yourself paying attention to that description and then asking about certain other things, and that leads to somebody asking for a perception check about something, or usually the DM asking for a perception check about that specific stuff. Good evening and congratulations on your visitation from our Lord 2 weeks ago. That is true. Hello, Lux. Thank you. Yes. Again, we'll talk about it more later, but it brought up some interesting discussion in the Discord that I've seen. And I kind of want to address a couple of things. about it. But that'll be later. So, right now, let's move on to the video. Aiden will be joining us later. Boo will not tonight. He is unavailable tonight, and Aiden is at work still, or at least coming home still. So, I'll be on the lookout for when I get the message, and I will add him into the Discord chat. And then we will be able to discuss things together. But for now, it's just you and you and you and you and me out there. And we're going to look at this first video together. So, this is, as I said before, passive skill mechanics versus rolling dice in D&D, brought to us by the DM Layer. Again, that thumbnail implies a lot of apparently passive things are ruining D&D, which I'm like, okay, I'm willing to hear your argument, but I don't know if I would agree with that just at face value. So let's see what this man has to say. I forget what your name is, sir. I apologize, but let us go.
Generally speaking, I'm not a fan of passive skill mechanics in D&D. Passive perception, passive insight, passive investigation, passive whatever. And it seems like more and more passive skills are being added to character sheets every year. At first it was just passive perception, but now it appears that passive investigation and passive insight are staples on the character sheet as well. So there certainly seems to be a trend toward just using more passive skill checks and less players rolling dice. Now,
okay. So, I haven't seen an update. It's Crazy Boy. Oh no. I haven't seen any updated character sheets. Maybe current 5e character sheets. Unless he's talking just about seeing it being written down. They need to add passive aggression. I agree. Let's see. I'll go on D&D's official website over here. Yeah, you can cookie me, I guess. 5e character sheets. Here we go. Let's see. Anything weird about these now? They have the form fillable version. Let me open this over here. Nope. Okay. I think he's just referring to the fact that people are writing them down more, which is sure. Wait, what? I do not want to ask my players to roll an insight check. Bad idea. Usually, at least in my group, at least in my Wednesday group, when I'm playing 5e, we usually go, and even this can also be in our group in 3.5. If we ever want to like really scrutinize somebody's statements and not take them at face value, we usually ask for it. We don't prompt it. Right? So, yeah, I don't... It's weird to... You wouldn't ask for people to roll an insight check. Usually. You could... usually what I see, at least for that, is, like, you prompt them, right? Because they're like, I don't know if I trust this guy. And then you go, well, you could roll an insight check to see if you can discover anything about the person, right? You once they prompt it, you respond with the option. Right? That's the best way, I think, if you want to get them to do it, because it's them kind of giving that option to you to give out. Passive investigation has always been something that should have been considered or used, but no one ever does it. Also, I've never seen updated sheets or DMs asking for that number. Yeah, so like I was saying before, the passive abilities were just, at least for me, in my brain, it was just what you gave them at the start, right? Like passive investigation, quote unquote, and passive perception, quote unquote, were just, this is the information that you will get when you see it, when you enter the room or you're in the town or whatever, right? So I don't know. It is just what it is at this point. I don't think, again, this is weird that it would be ruining the game, quote unquote, as the thumbnail suggests. So, again, we'll see. I might use something like an insight check to decide whether to let a player take advantage of something they know that the character may or may not know, depending on circumstances. Sure. Part of it is I reserve the right to give false info on a natural one in D&D, part of my Pathfinder 2 training. Sure, I don't see why not. If that's how you play it, that's how you play it. You know, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
I do believe there is a time and a place for passive skill mechanics, and we'll go over that today. But I also generally believe rolling dice is better for several reasons. Why active skill checks are better. Number 1. Passive perception trivializes the exploration pillar of D&D. Now we're gonna pick on passive perception specifically in this example, and for context, when I say exploration pillar, I'm not talking about traveling from point A to point B. That's not exploration. Exploration is an ongoing act in the game whereby characters are exploring their environment, be it in a castle or a dungeon or a town home, using their noggins, piecing things together, and
so I'm gonna let him go again, but like, man, fucking, the pillars, quote unquote, are annoying because everybody has a different definition of what pillars are, and I really wish they would just leave, like, just stop using them, because if nobody can decide on what it is or how many there are or any of that, like, we can just call them what they are. We can just call the mechanics what they are. I get wanting to group them, but when most people don't care. Or not care, but most people don't have the same, like, framework of what is what. Because he says, exploration pillar, I'm not talking about travel, which is not exploration. I'm like, well, when we were discussing it before, kind of came to the conclusion that it is kind of exploration. So, I don't know, but whatever. Passive skills only for PCs? I mean, it only, quote unquote, is there for PCs to look at. But I would say, they should go both ways, but usually it's PCs. For example, players roll 20 on stealth, but then the monsters roll 20 on perception. See, that's an active, but the passive would be, it does apply for monsters, because monsters do have a passive perception. You can make a stealth check, and then you, at least raw, right? You go... I get a 15, the monster has a 16 passive perception, they see me, right? You can calculate passive perception very easily for every monster. And sometimes they have them on the sheets, I'm pretty sure. It's been a hot minute since I've looked at a 5e monster. But yeah, it's there for both. I know that, I think. I am fairly certain of that. I don't know that, though. Anyway. Oh, right. So the reason that I paused this, because he's saying many things, and I'm like, okay. The other thing I wanted to say is that it's trivializing exploration. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think that that's true at all. The way that passive perception is supposed to work, like I said, is they notice things at a certain DC, quote unquote. Right. If something is, if you look at any module, I think, at least most modules that I know of, they have like, oh, this is the dungeon. If you get into this room, and you have a 15 perception, if you get a 15 perception, you would find this. And I would assume that those mean an active perception roll. But even if that's not the case, even if it is implying that that is a passive perception roll, usually they have things that are above, like, passive perception values. But again, passive perception, at least to me and to what I understand it as, is something that can be very easily noticed, and not something that is specifically to do with exploring a place and needing to find something, right? Because you're actively looking for something at that point. It's one of those things where my definition of passive might be different than his definition of passive, and active and is the same way. I don't know. I need these things explained to me. So anyway, let's go back over this point, because my brain is already firing.
Passive perception specifically in this example. And for context, when I say exploration pillar, I'm not talking about traveling from point A to point B.
Right.
That's not exploration. Exploration is an ongoing act in the game whereby characters are exploring their environment, be it in a castle or a dungeon or a townhome, using their noggins, piecing things together, and discovering useful information or cool secrets. I did a whole video on the 3 pillars that delves into more detail. Anyway, the point is that part of the exploration pillar involves searching for and discovering secret doors and traps. Now, I don't know about you, but I've had players who have maxed out their character's passive perception out to like 24 or something ridiculous. So if we used their passive perception to reveal secret doors and traps, they would simply auto-find everything. And that knocks the legs out from underneath the exploration pillar.
So it would if you did that. Now, I need to pull up the passive perception rules. This is just because I don't know now. Now I'm confused because I thought that passive perception was not used this way. So let me go and find it. I'm just pulling up my very legal copy of Player's Handbook, which I do own a Player's Handbook, so don't come after me, Wizards of the Coast. Okay. Because I assume it's in the Player's Handbook. It should be. Skills. Skills would be in where? Where are my skills? Ability checks, maybe? In 174? I would assume. Yes, okay. So 174, page 174 in the Player's Handbook. Here we go, page 175. Passive checks. Let's read about passive checks, because now we need to understand where we are. Okay. A passive check is a special kind of ability check that doesn't involve any die rolls. Such a check can represent the average result of for a task done repeatedly, such as searching for secret doors over and over again, or can be used when the DM wants to secretly determine whether the characters succeed at something without rolling dice, such as noticing a hidden monster. Here's how to determine it. Yep. That's it. That's the entirety of passive checks. So anything can have a passive check. Yep. And it's the average result for a task done repeatedly as per raw. So if you were to, in every situation, use, like, say, I want to look for a secret door, I guess if your DM wants to use that, they can. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah. So raw, it does seem that could be used that way. Okay, sure. I would say that raw, I wouldn't use that as the rule, but fair enough. Okay.
Because there's no need to poke around, look around, and explore your environment, and then maybe possibly find stuff and be rewarded for having put forth the effort of doing so.
So, okay, let me specify something here now that I'm thinking about it. It does remove one of the problems, this passive ability that's in the rulebook, right? It clearly states this, and it does remove one of the quote-unquote problems, which very much could be a problem, of somebody going and saying in every single fucking room, I want to make a perception check. I want to search for specifically a secret door. You know, I want to do this. I every single time, which would bog the game down and make it very slow, right? That's what bog the game down means, brain. Very good. So it can be very beneficial in that respect. So I would say that it's not ruining the D&D at that point already, because it can be used in such a way that benefits and speeds the game up, right? And makes it so it's more about the exploration and such. But again, if you are using it in that way, it can take away from something else, like the ability to present these secrets to them that they have to find or that they can miss, right? But at the same time, I would also then say, if it was made to be missed and they found it, is that not okay? Is that not fine that they've made a character that is specialized at finding these things, right? The character, like he said, has a 24 passive perception, and that I would assume that takes away from everything else for at least some degree. So that would make it so that they are highly specialized, which would mean that is what they do. They look for secret doors and they find them. Good. Great. You want them to find less secret doors? I guess then don't put as many secret doors / don't put them in dungeons so much, I guess. I don't know. At that point, you have to figure out what to do as the DM to kind of keep it challenging, quote unquote. But at the same time, I would also say if they're making that character that way, all power to them. They always find that shit. Good for them, you know? It's like if I were to make a dungeon, this is why I would complain about it if I wasn't thinking about it, right? I made my dungeon, I made a secret door that goes to the boss. They always find that secret door, right? That's they never explore through and they never get weakened before they get to the boss. They go to the boss and they beat it because they found the secret door that goes there, right? And I'm not saying that's what he's saying. Again, I want to be very clear here. I'm just putting this forward as a possibility as to why somebody might complain about it. In which case I would say that's a design flaw. Maybe make your dungeons a little bit differently, right? Maybe make it so the secret doors lead to treasure or something that's inconsequential sometimes, you know. I'm just looking for reasons to maybe make them not as benefited from this, even though that's what they made the character for, right? You want to add some mystery there, but so you can make it so that they find these secret doors or they find these things, and it's not always the best thing, right? Maybe the secret door leads to a monster attack, right? Maybe you vary it up where the things that they find aren't necessarily good for them. I don't know. I'd say the main problem I'd have with passive perception like that is that if you set the DC to find something lower than that number, you're basically just deciding the character will automatically see it. Yeah, well, so this is the thing. If you want them to see something, you will tell them about it. I think right off the bat, like I was saying. If I describe the dungeon's room to you, I will tell you what you see and what you hear and what you smell if, like, I remember to. But regardless of the fact, there are things there that you will fucking see. And that's, to me at least, what passive perception's all about. But again, with the searching for secret doors and stuff, as this is the example so far, it would be weird to me to use passive perception in that way. I don't know. But again, if that's how you do it, that's how you do it. I don't know. It just feels strange to me. That's all.
Everything just magically reveals itself. Now, sure, maybe that player doesn't care about exploration. Maybe they think it's boring and would just want to auto-find everything. In fact, that may be exactly why they went to such lengths to max out their passive perception. However, that player isn't the only player playing the game. There are other players who enjoy exploration. And if one character is auto-detecting every secret in the game, those players will be cheated out of that game experience. So
okay, so that's true, but I would hope that you're making characters together, or at least you understand like what people like in your group. So then this wouldn't be an issue, because hopefully somebody would go about and you would talk about it, you know, and figure out how to. And again, you can still make exploration happen. It's not like them seeing everything doesn't automatically mean that the dungeon is explored, right? I could go in a room and miss things regardless. Like if I found the room, I don't know. It's weird. It sounds like Session Zero problem. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't. That's so weird to complain about, because I would hope that you know your group, right? And if your group is doing it and your group is fine with it, because you specifically said that this is something that you've had happen, if your group is fine with it, then I'm sorry for you, but it seems like your group doesn't care as much about exploration as you do. At least that's what I'm getting from this.
my games, we always roll perception checks for finding secret doors and traps.
Sure.
This ensures that players can still enjoy exploration. And besides players having fun, let's not forget the Dungeon Master's fun. I didn't create secret doors and traps only to have them be auto-found by characters. Now sure, I'm not trying to create gotcha situations where I screw them over, but I do want them to actually have to play the game and interact with their environments to discover those game elements.
So they're still interacting with the game environment and stuff. Okay, well, Aiden's here. What? Hello.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Well, that's good. That's good. We are talking about perception today.
Perception. Well,
Perception.
To perceive this, let me get into the watch together.
There he is. There he is. He did it.
Oh boy, that was a bad bit.
Yup. So far, we're covering Dungeon Lair, right? And he's complaining that passive perception makes it so that people can auto find things. Basically, his example is he's had.
You go on.
Okay, his example has been so far that he has had his players make characters that have maxed out passive perceptions, in which they find secret doors and such, basically automatically. And he's very upset about this because it takes away from the exploration pillar. And from what I've gathered, it is more so a group problem / session 0 problem, but it does, unfortunately, if his group is seemingly okay with this because it keeps happening to him, then it does seem like more of a problem with him wanting them to explore more and them not wanting to. But them not wanting to, just because they have these characters that they've made, okay. I assume, together.
I have two thoughts.
Right.
The first of which is, if you have mentioned this in your session 0,
yes,
and repeatedly phrased it as like kind of a problem,
yes,
and people are still doing it,
exactly,
I would take that as a backhanded hint to the DM that they should do a better job of maybe like hinting to the players that, like, yeah, no, you think you've explored everything,
right? Something like that.
Yeah, that seems to be that the DM could do a better job of portraying the scene in a way that would make them perhaps suspicious of the rug that's hanging over the wall.
Right, exactly. By the way, let me get you your links that you will need. I apologize.
Oh, yes, thank you.
You are welcome.
I've trained you well. I don't even have to ask. I actually have 3 thoughts on this because this actually, I'm very happy we're talking about perception tonight.
Oh,
because I have had an experience in a small little indie video game. You may not have heard of it. It's called Elden Ring.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, not many people know of it.
Right.
But that game has the hidden paths behind walls. And after playing through a lot of Souls-like, you just kind of get a sixth sense for it.
Oh yeah, you can tell.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's the thing I put in the group chat a few days ago that I didn't mean to put in the group chat.
That's right.
That was going to a different person. But there are multiple dungeons in that game, of which this was one, where sequentially, like, you pop a hidden wall and you look and you open up a chest and you're like, ooh, and then you still got that itching feeling of your mind of there should be something else here.
Sure, yeah.
And then you hit the back wall, and like I found 3 like 5 foot by 5 foot rooms sequentially that were like, it was basically, instead of 3 5 foot by 5 foot rooms, it was 1 15-foot room. And they were just like 2 or 3 hidden walls, just all in a row. And I've been thinking of last night, actually. I was no, night before last, I was playing through the game, and I was like, it would be a fun thing to do, because there are like illusory terrains. There's the cantrip, for instance, illusory something. My warlock had it. But like basically a non-moving illusion less than 5 feet across.
Yeah, minor illusion.
Minor illusion. My character would use it to like back into boulders or something, and essentially minor illusion the rest, like a chunk of rock in front of himself, so it all looked like one rock, but he was sitting there. So it would be fun to do that with minor illusion, essentially to if you're in my campaign, by the way, you need to leave right now, because I'm going to discuss potential spoilers.
Oh my god.
I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm going to implement this or not, but I've been considering a dungeon that has recently started to flood somewhat.
Okay.
And it's got like throughout the whole dungeon, there's going to be a few inches of like standing water, and it's going to have multiple effects like lowering structural integrity, stuff like that.
Sure.
But at one point, there will be a room, and there's going to be a wall that looks like a full floor to ceiling wall, but there's water flowing into it and through it. And that's going to be the key that lets people know, oh, that's an illusion.
Right, yeah.
It's not a wall, it's a hallway, actually.
Right.
Thirdly, I was quite literally thinking about this in, like, I got home, took a shower, and I was thinking about passive perception and active perception before I literally, like, 10 minutes ago.
Nice.
So I was thinking of the fact that my characters are all leveling up in my campaign.
Yep.
And what I do when what I request from all of my characters, because I don't request full-on character sheets all the time. Some DMs request them every level, which is perfectly valid.
Yeah.
But what I need for my purposes usually is I need to know your spell save DCs, spell attack modifiers, to hit bonuses, damage, gold, and your perception bonus.
Right.
Because I can calculate passive perception with your perception bonus, as well as if I call for a roll, what it is.
Yep.
And I was thinking of the fact that in 5e, passive perception always being a 10 is kind of stupid.
Okay.
Because, like, I understand that it's a 0 to 20 roll, and 10 is an average, and you take the average roll to represent where you on average are. However, if you think about it from the perspective of, if I am taking time out to sit and focus and like, oh, what is that sitting up in the tree? And I take a moment to kind of squint and look up into the tree. That is a perception roll, and it's silly to think that I could notice the bird. Half the time I notice the bird in the tree better than I would if I stopped to take a moment and look at the bird. Like, because half the time when I stop and take a moment and say, I'm going to take 6 or 10 seconds and do an actual perception roll, I can roll a 1 through a 9. which plus my perception bonus is my worse than my passive perception.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that uh, the fact that there is proficiency
Yes.
is meant to help with that.
Yes.
However, I don't think that since you can put proficiency into so many things,
Mm.
I most people aren't going to take proficiency in perception at least what's the term for evidence where you tell a story? I always forget this.
Oh, evidence. Fuck. Now that you're asking, I can't remember what it is, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. At least story-wise, the players that I have encountered don't usually want to put proficiency in perception. I am the weird freak that does.
Sure.
And I take it to such an extreme that Boris has a plus 20 to spot checks.
Right.
Because I want to see anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Mm-hmm.
But people in general that I have noticed in my experience don't want to put proficiency in perception. They want to put it into history or arcana, which is totally valid. But because of this, or because of that fact, I don't think the existence of proficiency alone makes a compelling argument that, oh, well, that's because your active rolls are better than your passive rolls because proficiency. I don't think that can be convincingly made because so many people put that proficiency into other things.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, sure. I agree with that. It's obviously, it's not just 10. It is 10 plus your skill, basically.
Yeah, 10 plus. Usually, most of the time, your wisdom modifier.
Yes. Unless you have proficiency, yes.
Which in general, for most characters, is usually like a 12, maybe a 13.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption. Now, this was something that I didn't think about talking about before, but since you've brought it up, I agree that it's a little silly to have it be that way if you think about it like that. Though, usually, at least from my perspective of it, your passive perception is what you just see regardless of any other circumstances, right? You're not actively looking at stuff. You, like the bird in the tree example, at least. You see the bird in the tree. It's fucking there. Like, it doesn't take a fucking wizard to, point out, or sorry, it doesn't take a fucking druid that, or not, yeah, does druid use wisdom? I don't remember. Fuck it, who cares?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, there you go. I gotta trust myself. It doesn't take a fucking druid with a high wisdom to go, look, a bird, right? It's just everything around you has this. I would say anything and everything that is easily noticed is already at a 10. Like, if you want to be mechanical about it, right? So you just go, yeah, you're sitting at the tree and you look up as you hear the bird singing up there and you can see it flitting around, right? Like, because passive perception, at least to me, is just when you would describe a scene and tell the players what they see and what they hear and what they smell and everything, because that's what's there and that's what they would notice. And if it's something that's hidden, you wouldn't mention it, right? It's with the way that at least I looked in the PHB, in fact, to kind of see if I could corroborate with what he was saying before with how it's used. And the way that it seems to be used is more like taking 10 and taking 20 from 3.5 and before, right?
Yeah.
where you just go, yeah, I'm just going to take some time. But even with those, you would go, okay, that takes you a while. What is everybody else going to do while you're doing that for like 10 minutes to 20 minutes or an hour, right? Because that's what the intention was. It's like, yeah, you can do it and you can find these things, but the time it takes is immense, right? To make it so that it's not just the be all end all that everyone will do all the time. And you can't do it in situations where, specifically, you couldn't do it in situations where there was combat or high threats or just anything that would stress you the fuck out, right?
Yeah.
So,
by the way, I just want to take this moment to interject.
Mhm.
I think you're also getting lost in the weeds of my argument of like the bird in the tree example. What's in the tree may not be a bird. It can be a clump of moss or like some leaves, and you're trying to take the moment to go, is that a bird or is that moss? I can't quite tell. And then you
right.
see it like move, and then you go, oh, it's a bird. But I do understand your point at large.
Right, yeah, it's more just the fact that I'm overall making everything kind of go together with how taking 10 and taking 20 worked,
Mm.
right? But with the PHB, at least the 5e PHB, I looked on page 175, and the way that they describe it is passive perception is the average of multiple checks. Where you are going from, if I read it again, verbatim, such a check can represent the average result for a task done repeatedly, such as searching for secret doors over and over again, or can be used when the DM wants to secretly determine whether the characters succeed at something without rolling dice, such as noticing a hidden monster, right?
Mm.
And so the way, at least, that I interpret and would use it more so is making it so that you don't have the person that goes, I want to look for a secret door in every fucking room, right?
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. Whereas I have had this happen before where a player that was playing in my Wednesday group with me made a character who had a 20 passive perception, and was like, man, why would I ever look at anything actively, right? Which I again would go, well, it's something for when, you're looking at, when you're not like actively looking for something, so you'll notice things without even knowing that that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
So regardless of whatever's in the
would,
tree,
in that situation, I as DM would handle it by, yeah, sure, you notice it, but you may not put two and two together.
yeah, sure. Well, so this is the other thing. With the use of passive perception and going, hey, I have a 20 in passive perception, I'm gonna see shit, right? Sure. Like, I think that if they're going to specialize in that to such a degree, then it usually takes away from other things. I said this before, so I'm okay with them being able to see everything, right? That's fine. They're not gonna get snuck up on by anything.
Yeah.
Really, unless it has a good, stealth roll. But
Which,
yeah.
By the way, I will take this time to point out, I think I actually have a thought on that.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I think that the amount that you sink into it is something that is fine to have it be high and used in the way that it is, because it takes away from their ability to do much of anything else, unless of course it's given for free, I guess, through the feats like Observant, which literally will give you, I think, a +10 to your passive perception, just, or something like that. It's insane. Just because of Raw and everything that works that way, because they didn't balance the game for feats. But it's one of those things where I think that's it's okay the way that it is. I don't think it's great. I think it's fine, right?
So I think that because perception is pretty much hard locked, like 12 or 13, like, yeah, sure, it can go up every 4 levels by 1 modifier. Um, if you decide that you're going to be perceptive as fuck. But it is in itself not stellar, and more or less it's pretty inert as far as stats go.
Sure.
Which is why I find it a bit silly that adventurers who, like, by the time you're level 10 or level 15, you've been adventuring for quite a while and gotten very used to the adventuring lifestyle.
Sure.
Be that perhaps a predator is preying on your party, be that perhaps illusory wall. Like, as time goes on, you're going to get like maybe a sixth sense for that hidden wall, like you do in FromSoft games, or or like you, the player, do. You have like a feeling of something's wrong about that. I'm not sure what it is, but something is wrong there.
Can I stop you right there for a second? So I'm hearing at least more metagame kind of thinking than I am hearing character specific. Like, I understand that your point is
I would say actually that's valid. I'll redact my point.
Okay.
Then even leaving out the hidden wall thing, there's you're going to be your characters walking along the road, and all of a sudden maybe notice the birds are quieting down.
Okay. Yep.
Or the insects have stopped.
Yep.
And you would be more likely to notice that as a level 15 character than you would as a level 1 character.
So, yes. In which case, I say, in counter to that, anyone would notice. Well, not anyone, but most people, I think, would notice that at least gradually, and especially at that point.
Most certainly they would notice it gradually, but
especially at that point, if you're high enough level, I think that's more a job of the DM to describe that happening when it's starting, right? It's not like as gradually as time goes on, you're walking through this forest and it has happened when you entered, and as you're getting to like the middle, then you notice. I feel like it's the DM's job at that point to then kind of give that as what's happened as you step into the forest. You notice this shit because you kind of, as the DM, are their preternatural sense in a way, right? So while I agree, I think that it's less a way represented by mechanics on the sheet and more a way represented by the storytelling in general.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I was going to more or less summarize my point by saying passive perception at levels 1 through 5 should be 10 plus your Wiz modifier. Sure. At levels 5 through 10, it's 12 plus your Wiz modifier.
Sure.
And it's kind of more or less a secondary proficiency.
Sure. I think overall the problem with passive perception and skills in general is just the system's way of doing it. And the fact that skills are a lot less, they're loved a lot less than everything else, it feels like, because of the specialization being less specialized in like we've talked about before, how ranks used to be a thing and you could get better at these skills, and you're and
build
like
your
how
character like how you want it.
Yes, and like how Pathfinder 2e can do it with the training and the mastery and the expertise and all of that, right? That's another way to do it that works a lot better, I think, for skills. Whereas 5e is very simple with it, and so you kind of have to compensate for it as a DM or a player, right? So 5e sucks. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk, and
Yeah. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. You can tune in again for our 3.5 campaign.
All right, there's a couple of things here. Rules Lawyer says, what I prefer is Pathfinder 2's default. A character says what they're focusing on. If it's to search, I roll a secret perception roll using their modifier. I also roll when there's nothing to find. Yeah, absolutely, sure. If that's what you prefer, that's what you prefer. I usually prompt my players and go, okay, what are you doing specifically? Like, what are you looking for specifically? What are you doing to look for this specifically? Like, just to, get them to maybe get hidden bonuses or something and all that kind of such. And I let them roll it out. But the secret rolls are fun. I do like secret rolls on occasion. Question for Aiden. In this scenario, this is from Lux, if one of the players just says that their character is going to try pushing on that wall without using a skill, will you allow it?
Yeah. If it's illusory and you're just like testing the wall, like, yeah, I would. So the way I would treat that situation is, if they weren't using a skill but just rather pushing on the wall, and the wall was an illusion, I would certainly allow them to discover that it is their hand goes right through.
Yeah.
Because that's how the minor illusion cantrip works.
Yes.
However, I would seek to almost sort of backhandedly discourage, like, go into a room, run a hand around the entire perimeter of the room by just being like, yeah, it certainly seems like a wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in that kind of respect, if I would probably do the same kind of thing, but I imagine like anybody would, if a character is putting their hand on a wall and just following the wall with it just because, then yeah, they're gonna find it, and then that can lead to them naturally going, I should check everything. In which case I go, yeah, fucking go for it. Absolutely. At that point,
yes,
you have a reason to.
That's why what I would do with the dungeon that has the illusory wall. I would make the one illusory wall that has something really fucking good behind it.
Yeah.
And that way it'll be just the sort of thing where, oh, if they happen to notice it, reward them for interacting with the world.
Right, yeah.
But the second illusory wall is the one that's really fucking obvious, that the water going through the wall.
Yeah.
And that will sort of raise a flag in players' minds of, oh fuck, this dungeon has illusory walls.
Yeah. Yeah, the water is there to get them to understand.
Yeah, the water's there to teach them the mechanic.
Yes, exactly. So, which later on, they said, remember you said there was water running under it, and then whelp. Yes, exactly. Also, I like spot checks personally. Yeah, spot checks are cool.
Spot checks are pretty cool.
I like the idea of having them be separate because, you are focusing more on what you can see than what you can hear or smell or taste. Yes. Right? It's you are tuning those things out so that you can see better, quote unquote.
I personally just love the idea of I roll a spot check and my character's eyes turn into binoculars.
Yeah. Pathfinder 2 default retains random rolls and makes it not a slog, and you get another roll or auto succeed if you say something specific or examine an area more closely. Yeah. This is the thing. Passive perception is there to make it not a slog. That's I will die on this hill, and I think that that's good. right? I think that it's good to have things that make it so that things are less of a slog. But I know, controversial as fuck. But the way that it seems to be framed and the way that it seems to be used, at least according to this man, is at least less of a slog and more of a, you're just bypassing things because that's how you're interpreting the rules. I don't know. Also listen checks, yes. And time to start heading for work. Well, have fun, Lux. Work is great. All right. Oh, and I will say right here, right before you got in, he was saying that at his table, he makes it so that you have to use perception, active perception, to find secret doors and shit. And I'm like, good, okay, so then you don't have a problem, I guess. Good.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to run it, that's perfectly fine. You've fixed your problem. Why are you so upset? Oh, I also forgot to mention to you, the thumbnail for this video was passive checks are making D&D worse. Not the title of the video, but that was one of the reasons why I clicked on it, and I was like, okay. I'm not like I said before, I'm not convinced just from that because I don't agree necessarily, and I'm willing to hear the argument. And so far, the passive argument I've heard is a bad thing happened when players have it because it makes it so I can't do my thing. I fixed it.
Yeah. By the way, I wanted to two things to throw out.
Yes.
The first of which is you mentioned the thumbnail, and it reminded me to tell you that I frankly despise our thumbnail for this video.
Thank you.
Like, good God, it makes me very uncomfortable.
Yep. Me too. That's why I made it.
I don't know why, but I think just the way in which the ears stick out from the head reminds me of a monkey.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
And I hate monkeys.
Oh!
Golly, do I hate them.
I found something. Well, there you go.
Second thing is I'm gonna go get a knife or some peanut butter.
Okay. I will continue in your stead.
What's the fun of a reward if you didn't have to do something to earn it? I'm pretty sure that we've discovered now as a society that participation trophies don't really work. We know they are shams, and they don't really give us enjoyment or pride in our accomplishments. Now,
okay, so is it not pride in your accomplishment of making a character that can find things that others cannot? Is that not something that is valid? Now, I understand your point here is that at least that you're ruining the fun for everyone, right? And I think that's your overall point if you're using passive perception this way, in which case I go, again, this seems like a issue with your players at session 0. What the fuck? What's this new tangent he's going on? Well, participation bad. It's irrelevant to the overall point, I think. Oh, is he back?
Golly, it's like a monkey put on some black neoprene gloves.
You're looking at the thumbnail again.
And decided to stare at me. Like, I do not like it. I do not support. I do not stand.
That's fine. Mongoose says, it's okay, Aiden. My sister hates monkeys too. There you go.
Good. She has good taste.
I want you to listen to this.
They are a threat to my supremacy over the animal kingdom.
That's right. I want you to listen to this point that he has just brought up.
We've discovered now as a society.
Oh, hold up. We live in a society.
But I do want them to actually have to play the game and interact with their environments to discover those game elements. What's the fun of a reward if you didn't have to do something to earn it? I'm pretty sure that we've discovered now as a society that participation trophies don't really work. We know they are shams, and they don't really give us enjoyment or pride in our accomplishments. Now, right about now, somebody...
Yeah, it was just that whole thing.
So I would like to ask, do you consider seeing something to be an accomplishment?
I consider the fact that my character is built in such a way that he can see things a bit of an accomplishment.
I would, in fact, if a character... So, once again... Passive perception for most characters is 12 or 13 and will stay that way through the entire game.
Usually.
If you are getting to the point where your passive perception is like a 25, you built specifically for that.
Exactly.
And I believe in a little haphazard methodology called rewarding the players for their effort.
Yeah. Crazy that. Sounds like he needs more hugs. This is my thought, I guess, here is he's complaining about it because he thinks that this was another thing that I forgot to mention that I remembered as I was talking about before you got back. He said that if you're the player that has this, you're able to go through and pop those exploration things, right? Because you can see them pretty easy, and I guess this was referring to the secret doors. But in general, you might be taking away from your party who might have people that have the inkling to want to explore more. Of which I would say, first off, where was your session 0? What happened? And second off, if this is like the furthest extent of exploring and everything that they're doing is just popping it in general, then what are we doing here? So yes.
So don't get me wrong.
I won't.
I, as a storyteller, find passive perception to be in the position where it is either useless, or can be slightly annoying as a storyteller if you want to have a moment where your players go, "Oh, the signs are right there all along. How did we not notice?" You never get the opportunity to do that if someone has a passive perception of like 28. Which can be mildly frustrating as a storyteller. However, that doesn't mean that it needs to be changed, because again, I believe in rewarding players for their success.
I would also push back actually on your point there that you can never do that. Because they might be able to see something, as you said, but they might not be able to put it together.
Yeah. Which I mentioned to you earlier.
Yes.
But like, there are DMs for some campaigns, I'm in one of those campaigns, where everyone has a ridiculously high AC.
Sure.
Like, my character is a paladin, and he's actually pretty middle of the road as far as AC is concerned, and his AC is 27.
Sure.
But, you know, we're facing the sort of creatures on the regular that will have, like, they're like Pathfinder 2E monsters, basically, man.
Yeah.
Like, they have a plus, like, 19 to hit.
Yeah.
So, it's gotten to where Granted, part of that plus 19 is just from the fact that we've gotten up there in level. We're level 14 right now.
Mhm.
However, monsters do have a higher to hit bonus right now than they should.
Sure.
And I understand that that is the DM attempting to balance things out for us,
Yes.
which I fully support him in doing.
Yes.
However, like if there is, I'm going to take this example and now provide a example to the opposite.
Okay.
If I am running, say, a campaign for some level 3 or level 4 characters, AC is typically around 13 to 14.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one guy, like a paladin, who's managed to snag some plate armor,
Sure.
and his AC's like an 18. Damn right, nothing can ever touch him.
Yeah.
However, that I even though he has been rewarded for his efforts, he also needs to be conscientious of the fact that people are going to go, I can't fucking do anything about that, and are going to switch targets to the thing that they can
Yeah.
target, which can mitigate the usefulness of someone who is tanking.
Sure.
I don't know where AC was delving into all this, actually.
Okay. I was just going along with it because I thought you were gonna tie it together.
In general, reward players for their efforts.
Yes.
Even when it's annoying, like their efforts are to have a ridiculously high AC at level 4.
Yes.
That was kind of my general
Okay.
overarching.
Yes. So yes, to bring it back on theme, if they have high passive perception, we'll reward that, but you can also do things to
Reward that with their success, but you as the DM have all the creative control in the
Yes.
world. You can find ways around it.
Like I was saying, they might see something that's more detrimental to them and their fellows than always getting something good out of it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all of the videos you see that say like such and such is ruining D&D,
yeah,
like have
for you.
a secondary unsaid sentence, which is very important.
Mm.
And the second sentence is, and I have done nothing to change how the flow of the game works to adjust.
Right, it does seem that way, and yet he even says in the video here that he has fixed it. So I don't. He's just complaining about it.
Such and such is ruining D&D raw.
Yes, exactly. And again, it's one of those things where yes, raw it might be somewhat detrimental, but also, is it not also something that you can fix and change and interpret differently? Anyway. They are a threat to my supremacy over the animal kingdom, SneakyAdolf 2022. That's right. It's a quote that he will take to his grave.
And I'll die not regretting it.
That's right. Lux says, last thing before I go. Oh, by the way, hi Con. How you doing? Last thing before I go. Speaking of perception, I found an entire lost civilization in the comments section of a mediocre Onion video a couple of days ago, and expect to be exploring it for a while. Yo, cool. There you go. All right, let's see what else he's got to say about passives.
Is screaming at me and typing a furious comment along these lines. But Luke! The player created their character specifically to have a high passive perception, to allow them to automatically find secret stuff, and you are intentionally nerfing their build. You bad, horrible dungeon master, you.
No, so those people that you're talking about, that you're strawmanning right now, maybe not even strawmanning, but the people that you are saying that are doing this are probably not people that you need to listen to.
I mean, that was kind of exactly what my point is. If you have a high passive perception, you have built for it, you should reward that.
Well, so if they're yelling this in such a way, and they're saying it like this, it's like, don't, it's whatever, But quite literally, I was gonna also say that we've said this as well, but we didn't yell about it, and it's also true, unfortunately for you. So, I came to the table to defeat you. I will win your game of D&D and shame your bloodline for generations. Yes, exactly.
Yes, that's right.
How many people are writing that comment right now? I know there are some of you. And this is exactly why I tell my players in advance how passive
I just realized
perception.
the video isn't up. Sorry, everybody. There he had a whole. I'll skip through it for a second. 3:30. He had this when he was saying that it was all on the screen. It was, and then he fucking giggles and chuckles about it because it's very funny that somebody would type that. Except, I would assume that if they yelled about it, he wouldn't give a fuck.
I tell my players in advance how passive perception works in my game. And if I somehow forget to do this and a player gets screwed, I would let them do some tweaking to their character. My goal is not to ruin anyone's game or nerf their character. I want to elevate the game experience for all players by ensuring that the exploration pillar doesn't get the shaft. By the way, if you're...
And if you want to change how passive perception works in your world, that is a totally valid change to make, and I commend it. In fact, that is my point of such and such is ruining D&D, and my saying like, oh well, that has a second hidden sentence of, and I have done nothing to change how it works. That is changing how it works, and that's exactly what you should do.
Yes, I would agree.
I'm glad to see you have arrived there at 3 minutes and 48 seconds into your 14-minute and 45-second video.
Exactly.
Looking for easy-to-use, professionally made 5e resources, or perhaps want to play D&D with me, might I recommend becoming a DM Lair patron? My patrons get an issue of Lair magazine every month that contains 5th edition adventures, digital maps for use on virtual tabletops, traps, puzzles, new monsters, and other cool stuff. DM Lair patrons also get map packs, city tiles, and lots of other amazing 5e resources. Furthermore, I run a D&D game every month, and I choose the players from my patrons. Or maybe you've just found my videos and other free resources super helpful and would like a way to say thank you and become a part of supporting the ongoing content I create for the D&D community. I should actually say we create, because I have a whole team of people that help me do everything that we do. Either way, you can learn more and become a DM Lair patron at the link below. Number 2, passive skill mechanics.
Hey, I mean, yeah, sure. Good for you. I hope you get more patrons, I guess. Bow before my big perception. I'll become a patron just to defeat you and display my dominance over you. Yes, that's right. Haha, I support you with money to play D&D with you and win. I like that. But yeah, I mean, fair enough. I'm glad that you put it at least, in the 3 minutes or 3 minutes and like 50 minutes. Wow. Hello. Let me start over. I'm glad that you put that 3 minutes and 50 seconds into your video. That is respectable enough to me for me to go, yeah, you shout out your shit. Good. Anyway.
Number 2, passive skill mechanics make the game more bland.
Oh, they do?
Wait, hold on. I'm in the middle of typing, and that sentence just landed in my brain.
Yeah.
Passive stuff makes everything more bland.
So I will hear his point, I guess, but they do? Haven't noticed that, but please tell me more.
more bland. When the bard rolls a 25 on their performance check, amazing things can happen. Likewise, when they roll a 1, you can get some hilarious roleplay results, and amazing things can also happen. Great successes and great failures are the things that make D&D and other role-playing games so much fun and cause such amazing stories to resolve. If we remove the possibility of great successes and great failures by making everything a passive check, the game gets dull.
Okay, so this is going back to his point where he sees more and more passive skills being used, or at least popping up on character sheets. Now, before that, when he said that, I looked and I saw that the character sheet's the same, so I guess it's just individuals that he's seeing that happen with, which I'm like, okay, sure, that's fine for them if that's what they're using in their games. Like, I don't see why that's a problem. And then now he's saying if we remove things, it'll be bad. And I'm over here going, when are we removing things? Where are we removing things? Why are we removing things? What is happening? Passive skills are here to help with speeding the game up, and that's about it. If you look at them, if you look at how they're worded, it is not there for you to replace everything with. It is just there for you to use as an average if you're going to have, like I said before, the guy go in and go, I want to make a perception check in every room. I'm like, okay, you can use your passive perception every room if you would like, because otherwise we're just going to have you rolling every single room. Now, regardless of that fact, usually, at least in that case, like I said before, again, that, to me, is determined by a lack of description on the DM's part for them to really, see the entirety of the room. And usually, at least in the games that I've been playing, a perception check isn't called for by the players when we're doing it. It's called for when they learn about something specific and they want to know more about it, and then the prompt is given by the DM to say, would you like to roll a perception check to see if you can find more? Or whatever other skill.
Yeah, or like, hey, what do I see when I do this? And I'll say that I don't know, roll me a perception check.
Yes, exactly. So already, you're on a fucking bad foot, my friend. It doesn't, no one is doing this unless, if they are, I guess, sorry. If this is done, then I suppose this is the case in some ways, or they're still having fun. Maybe it's not bland for them. But I don't know. Is there a possibility here that it might just be beneficial and some people aren't using it to replace every fucking check? Like, you're preaching that the D&D is full of highs and lows, right? And I'm like, yes, everyone knows this. Good for you. I'm glad we're here. And then you're saying, if we take those away, that's bad. And I go, yes, it would be bad, I guess. Why would we take them away? And you're saying passive perception is taking those away, or passive insight or passive investigation is taking those away because it's auto-passing these things. And I'm like, no. What? Passive skills speeds up more mundane tasks or opens up opportunities that would be trivial to roll for players to lead into a discovery or suspense. Yes. That's the point of passive skills, at least in my mind. So I don't know where he's coming from. I have no idea what's happening. Who used a passive skill on you to make you so sad?
Someone might object.
Who hurt you?
Yeah, exactly. Like, point to me, the person that seems to have hurt you so much that you're on this crusade. Because man, that must have been really tough.
Everything a passive check.
I've seen friends of mine even that were like, yeah, this character has like a 28 passive perception, and I was asking them like, does your DM not describe stuff? And they're like, nah, I just want to see everything. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Valid.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, okay, cool. The room is open to you. Wow.
That is kind of removing a good portion of the exploration pillar
Eh,
um from yourself if you want, but
but you made
that
that choice.
yeah, you have made that choice. Like I could in that indie game Elden Ring, I could grind up to soul level 150
Mm-hmm.
and then be the one of the first bosses like
Mm-hmm.
Market.
Yep.
Um and you know what? I would slap his shit in.
Yeah.
Um and I would be rewarded for my efforts. But I would just ultimately be kind of ruining things for myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure. Well, it depends on how you felt
some would
about it.
exactly. Some would consider it to be ruining it for myself. Some would not.
Oh, a new member to the Discord. Nice. Sorry.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. It is entirely up to the person, and in a group setting, I can understand if it does quote unquote ruin things for another person. But again, I would hope that in character creation or before this kind of stuff comes up somehow, or even after it comes up, that you would talk about it, you would work it out, you would figure out exactly like how to make it so that everyone's still like cool with it, you know? Where are we? Please, somebody tell me. Let me just welcome this person to the server really quick. As I do. Welcome. There we go. Okay.
The game gets dull. But Luke, someone might object.
By the way, I can hear your typing or something. Oh my god.
you shouldn't. My noise suppression is. Oh, it got turned off.
Mmm.
Oh, it's probably because I restarted my computer. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I have it turned on
I
now.
just noticed it. So I
You
think you're
should
okay.
not be able to hear it anymore.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
There's nothing interesting about searching for a secret door or trap. I beg to differ.
I'm sorry. Wait. Whoa. Where are we? What? When did we get here? Hold up. I wasn't paying attention at all.
Game gets dull. But Luke, someone might object. There's nothing interesting about searching for a secret door or trap. I beg to differ. I've had players roll low on their perception to spot a trap, shrug, and keep going, only to set off the trap and get nailed by it. And then all the other players.
I've never had anyone say searching for a trap is boring.
Who would make that as an argument? Who would ever say that? Who are you talking about?
His name is Strawman.
Oh, I see.
Laugh, including me, poke fun at him, and during the rest of the game, no one trusts him for anything and double checks everything. Or the barbarian who rolls a 1 is convinced there is a secret door on the wall and refuses to move on, even when other characters roll well and say there is no secret door. So then you have the barbarian, convinced he's right, smash down the wall to prove his point. And then the group gets a nice shortcut to the final boss. So don't tell me that nothing interesting can happen when rolling perception checks.
We wouldn't. No one would. Again, who are you talking to? That's crazy. That's insane. My mans, you're speaking to voices. The void has opened up for you in your mind, and we're there.
You can't say an additional mechanic entering into the game is ruining the game. Oh, look. And then when like people look at you and go, "Wait, what? No?"
Yeah.
You go, "Oh, look at that. They're saying that they don't want to roll at all."
Yeah, where are we? When did we get here?
It's more fun not to roll.
By the way, questing GM, I good that you're watching. Hello. Anyway, so yeah, it just smacked me in the face when you put that out there that someone would say that, and like okay, and now I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Here we go. I'll steel man you. Someone says that. Okay. It's boring for them. Okay? They play differently. Okay? you can beg to differ all you want. I can beg to differ all I want, but ultimately, for them, it's boring. And maybe for their table, it's boring. Oh no. Does that mean that them using this to bypass that is bad? No, in fact, I think that it elevates the game for them. 100%. It makes it so they want to play more. Where are we? Please. Somebody tell me.
Number 3, passive mechanics increase the workload for dungeon masters. Sure.
Okay.
You can create a cheat sheet with the passive checks for all your players and have it in front of you. But then you need to constantly be checking on it, and sometimes you'll forget. Then the players will feel stilted and want you to retcon it. Now, someone is sure to get grumpy and be like, oh, come on, Luke, it's not that hard, suck it up. Be the dungeon master, be all that you can be, or whatever. But dude, seriously, I've got a lot of things going on as a dungeon master. Lots of things I'm juggling during any given game. And every single additional thing is that much more cognitive load on me, meaning that I'm doing all those other things, which are arguably way more important, a little bit less well, causing the game to suffer just a bit more. So.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. So, Aiden, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay,
yes.
okay. I just wanted to make sure. So
I was just waiting for you to make your point.
No, I know. So I understand wanting to make it easier for yourself as a DM. That's absolutely fair. You should strive to do such things in order to make your game smoother or make it so that it's less stressful for you, whatever the case may be. But also with the passive checks, you have the power to implement as many or as little as you want in your game. Passive checks are a thing that, and if you've noticed this a lot in your players, I guess, if they're wanting to use this more, then I would say that that's kind of a thing that you're implementing for them to make it more fun for them. And that's a good thing, and it might be a little more taxing, and it's unfortunate, but I would, at that point, say, well, if it's less fun for you, then have a discussion with them, right? Tell them that you don't want to do this anymore, because it's taxing. It's making it, you feel, less of a game that is quality, right? And if you're just complaining that this is just something that is being used so much that it can do this to other people as well, I mean, it's fair to bring awareness to it, but I also think that in that case, they would also have the ability to not use all of the passive abilities and only use passive perception, passive investigation, passive whatever they want. Am I wrong in that?
So the thing that I feel with this video, right?
Yeah.
Is I have a lot of cool stuff in my world that, despite the fact that my players go through at a positively glacial pace,
Yes.
they love to, like, ballerina pirouette by.
Sure.
And I would love the chance to be able to show them more about my world.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here listening to Luke talk about how a player with a 28 passive perception is
able to see
the
their
bane
world
of his existence.
Yeah.
And I'm like shaking.
If only I was so privileged as you, sir.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, man, when I'm a multi-billionaire, these taxes sure are high. Oh, and, like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I ate moldy cheese today.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. It's totally valid if this is stressful for you and you want to reduce that, but I also and you also seem to recognize that this is something that you can fix. So ultimately, the issue that I'm having overall is the fact that you put this as your thumbnail of these things are ruining D&D. Okay, you've made your position clear in that respect. You've also said you don't like them in the video. Sure, that's fine. You can not like something, but when you're saying that it is ruining the entire format of D&D, like, it paints everything in a weird light. So what am I supposed to get from this, right? Like, what I'm taking away is that you're upset that this is a thing that you can fix, that you have fixed for your games. Why are we so upset about it to the point that we're now accusing it as ruining the game? Where are we?
My question too is, he's like, I mean, like, I warn my players that this is how passive perception works in my games. I'm like, cool. So you've developed a fix for it, clearly.
Yes.
Why is why is this video framed in the way it is of passive perception is ruining D&D?
Yeah.
And not, I have developed a fix, or I have developed here's how passive perception works in my games, and here's why.
It could be a lot more positive. Well, so
wouldn't that be as much more?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that lead to much more constructive discussion?
Yes, it would. But I now, and I unfortunately I was going to say exactly the reason, and now I've realized it. Like, because I immediately off the cuff realized it now. This is so that he can get the clicks. That's why it's there.
Yeah, no, I know that.
And like, fuck, man. That's the only reason why it's framed as demonized as it is. It's literally just to get the clicks. Fuck me.
Yeah. Wait, you just now got that?
Yeah, it's... you don't understand the world that I live in. My brain doesn't seem to...
I got that as soon as you told me the thumbnail. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's clickbait, okay.
It got me.
Because I was going to mention, like, oh, well, don't let Brogan call you, don't let Brogan hear you call it clickbait, because boy will defend clickbait to his dying breath.
And like, I understand it. I've talked about it before. I get why people do it. It's part of the system that it is, but that's why I'm not necessarily against people doing it. I'm against the system itself for making it what it is, right? Making it need to be a thing. So I don't blame the people. I blame the system. Fucking but legitimately, I didn't even think about it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. Fuck. This is why I will never succeed. I've ruined the chance for us, and I've ruined my own chances because I just don't think about it. Just never do. Fucking hell. Alright. I know one guy who would hate rolling for traps, and he sets up his games for everyone to have an average score from all their modifiers and skill ranks. It's streamlined for him, but boring to me. Yeah, sure, exactly. Like, if, again, we harp on about the setting a room's DC to 13 when he rolls a die from that one guy. But at the end of the day, like, that's how he plays, right? We can not like it, we can make fun of it all we want, but that's how he plays and that's how he does the thing, right? So there's nothing that we can say that's like, that's wrong. We can say that, but it's really just, it's wrong for us, right? Like, it wouldn't work for us. It doesn't work for a lot of people, you know? So,
yeah. So it is fun to poke fun and laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, if that is what is fun for him and his players, then that's valid. Yeah. Like, you can say, you can't say, haha, you're having fun wrong, with if it comes with the context of fix it so that I have more fun. But you can say, haha, you're having fun wrong, if it's in the context of, dude, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. It's just the absurdity of it, really. I'm behind now, but Strawman was my favorite Mega Man boss. Thank you, Lux. Yeah, and his arch rival Steelman. We all know. This is why I will never succeed. Same, man. Same. Bad clickbait is a lie.
Now there's Same Man?
Yeah. Yeah, there's Same Man. Exactly, yes. The Pantheon grows. Yeah, I don't like clickbait. It's just not something I like. But I understand its purpose and I understand its use, and I've tried to take my spin at it with the way that I've been doing the thumbnails and stuff. I'm not good at it. I can't do it. There's a couple of, like, the tone thumbnail is my favorite thumbnail I've ever made. It's just with the man, the woman, and the Sag frog. It's great. It's super fun. But is it clickbaity? I don't think so. I don't know. I think it's just interesting to look at. Anyway, fuck it. Let's continue. I'm sad now.
If I can make my life easier with a simple rule like, if your character is going to attempt something, tell me, and we'll have them roll for it. I'm gonna do it. By the way, if you think...
Yeah, well, so, wait. Yeah, that's how D&D works. The passive stuff is for passive things, like the things that they won't think about. Because if you're actively going... Fucking... If the player is going, hey, my passive perception is this, can I notice this shit? It's like, well, to a certain extent, you would have already told them, I would assume. This is why passive perception, at least from, like, I think that we should call it just, I don't even know if we need it. That's the thing. It's fine. Like I said, it's fine to use and have mechanically there in the book, but it is ultimately something that I don't think is necessary.
That's why I kind of save it as, like, an idea to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Because I'll, like, ask, hey, Boris has a +20 onto perception.
Yes, exactly.
Do I just pick up on this with, like, or do I notice someone talking in their house?
Right.
From, like, the outside of the house by the street with my +17?
Yeah, with their list.
Do I just pick up on that?
Yeah, exactly.
Just because you can look at the characters at your table and go, they're pretty perceptive. They would pick up on this.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are many times where I've been like, yeah, and let's see, you would see this because you're in this situation, you're looking for this specifically, like you're doing this right now, so this is happening and you are noticing it, right? But like,
yeah,
it becomes a question of context for the characters and the situation itself, right? More so than
that's why in general, if all three of my players would roll perception on the same thing and all three of them rolled 20s, I would give 3 different answers.
Yeah, absolutely. That is fair enough.
Also, one second, I need to grab something.
Yeah. Bad clickbait is is a lie meant to engage the audience. Good clickbait is bait for good content. It's hard to tell which it is until you click it. Yes, that's true. It's just perception. You either do it actively or passively. You don't need to overcomplicate it the way 5e has. The thing is, it's not complicated. Like, it's becoming overcomplicated because of the way that people use it, apparently. Right? Taking 20 and taking 10 were just the way that you did it before. Those were more complex, I would argue. Right? But literally, it's just describe the scene to them and tell them what they see, right? If they are with something like stealth, passive perception is good. Passive perception is helpful, right? Because you don't have them, because they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know that something is trying to sneak up on them unless they were able to notice it naturally, right? In that case, mechanically, it's good. But overall, like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think it should be more of an unwritten rule than an actual mechanic that's there to confuse people. And yes, this is bad clickbait. I agree. I'll ask Aiden about that when he comes back. Remind me to ask him about that. If I don't remember, or if I say it wrong, ask him in the chat.
This video is okay-ish and doesn't completely suck, please give me a thumbs up and leave an encouraging comment down below. Do your part to alleviate my mental duress, unless you want me to cry myself to sleep, you cruel, cruel human being. Number 4, passive mechanics can nerf some character features. The rogue, for instance, gets reliable talent at level 11. This allows them to treat rolls of 9 or lower as 10 for any skills they are proficient in. So the more we trend toward allowing all characters to use passive mechanics, which is in essence taking 10, the more we invalidate some characters' special abilities.
But even taking 10 had its limitations. You understand how taking 10 works then, because you reference it. You have to understand how it works. So then why not supplant the way that taking 10 works to passive perception, where you can only do it in certain instances, right? That makes sense to me more so. In the middle of a fight, your passive perception is either going to be more dull or more heightened, I guess, in certain instances. Like the sneak
probably
thing.
More dull, yeah.
Well, the sneak thing I would take as what would be more heightened, because you're trying to scan around for enemies, right, during a combat. With sneak and the way passive perception works, if they get under your passive perception, you see them. So in that way, it makes sense to me. But if you're trying to passively look at the battlefield for, like, I don't know, something very specific, I guess, like, it wouldn't work. You wouldn't be able to do that. You can't substitute it. And you alternatively in a situation, a tense situation, like let's say that you're in a verbal debate at court with the king and people that are judging you, right, on a crime or something, or just in general you're making a case. Could be not for a crime, could be a petition of some sort. Just any sort of high tense, like high stress situation is going to make it so that you're probably less focused on the world around you, and you're more focused on what's in front of you, who's talking, all that kind of stuff, and then you're actively looking at them, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
It's so simple for me to then, like, go in and really pick it apart and really work out how this would work to make it so that it applies and doesn't take away from active rolling. Like, it's so simple to do. I don't... Why... This is bad clickbait or good clickbait? Good clickbait because it made you click, bad clickbait because it led to bad content. That's right. That is true.
Schrodinger's clickbait.
That's true. Every clickbait is that until you click it. Shit. And I did die after this. I am dead right now.
Deceased. R.I.P.
Sure, this isn't a super prevalent thing in the game, but it's still a thing. The desire to use passive mechanics. Okay, now let's discuss some of the classic objections to rolling dice and the desire to instead use passive mechanics.
Are there objections to rolling dice?
I guess so. I have no idea. I'm interested to see them. I really am.
Number 1, passive mechanics save time.
Yes.
I see this one a lot. The argument goes something like this. Instead of having the character roll the skill check, you can save time in the game by having the dungeon master compare their passive mechanic to the DC. Okay, let's think about this. How long does it take a player to roll a die and add a number to it? 5 seconds maybe? And for the sake of this exercise, let's consider players who spend 5 minutes doing simple math and outlier, shall we? Okay then, so how long does it take for the dungeon master to look at the cheat sheet for that character's passive mechanic for that ability score and then compare it to the DC? 5 seconds maybe? See
like legit. Like, okay, I understand your point. I agree with you to an extent. Overall, though, I think the point is more complex than this. It's more nuanced. Like, you're just saying, instead of rolling, you use the check. Whereas I would think that the argument is, instead of rolling over and over and over for the same thing when they keep trying something multiple times, like it says in the fucking book, like, then you use the passive to, instead of doing that and making it a slog for everyone, then you use the passive. Or you're using it to, as with the stealth mechanic, make it so that they avoid becoming surprised without being told that someone is stealthing up on them, because how the fuck would they know otherwise? Like, who made the argument that it's so simplistic that you can take it this way? That's my question to you.
But, dude, okay, I'm gonna make a very boo-esque argument here.
Please.
But the dice are so heavy.
Ah, you're right. My little fingies, they're so weak, I can't pick them up.
Dude, I've got like a 3-hour session of D&D to play. I can't be rolling dice that whole time. I got 3 or 4 good rolls in me, maybe.
You're right. Or if you're me, you never roll anything above a 10 for some reason every time we play now. I've met several of these dice rolling hating heathens. Well, there you go. Sup, peeps? Hey, Mug, how are you doing? You've come in at a great time. We're getting into insanity, apparently. Or at least people that are so reductive that they don't, like, I can't understand how you would take this
narrative.
Argument.
Narrative evidence.
True. There you go. Yes, narrative evidence.
I've had the word astrological in my head this whole time, and I was like, I know it's not that.
I was thinking anecdotal.
Anecdotal, yes.
Okay.
Anecdotal evidence.
Okay. I wasn't sure, so I didn't say anything.
It's not narrative. I'm a psychopath.
Okay, fair enough. You would know.
What I'm getting at, are we really saving time? Time is being spent either way. But Luke, someone will cry. There's always somebody out there crying but Luke, apparently. I don't know. What about the character who searches every door for traps and every wall for secret doors?
Yeah.
That accounts for lots of game time that could be saved if the Dungeon Master uses passive perception and just tells the group when they run across a trap or secret door. And I agree with you on that one. I have been in games where DMs have forced us to declare a search for every 5-foot square of a dungeon.
Yeah, that sounds like
shit. And it was miserable. I think the trick here is balance. If you swing the pendulum either way too far, someone gets bonked in the head. But there is a happy path somewhere that groups can find.
I hate you. You know then. I don't actually hate you. I'm just very upset.
I am of the mind that you would have to roll a search for every room in the dungeon.
So this is the thing. If you are specifically going to take that time, I think it's perfectly fine for you to have to call for a search every time. Like, that's fine. Every room. But every 5-foot square would be ridiculous. There's no, you foot in the doored me. Okay, you foot in the door to me. I understand. Yes, you put a big thing in there for me to go, yeah, that would be fucking stupid. And then you're trying to get me into your mindset here with it. I get you. I see the tactic. But regardless of that, like, as you said, yes, there's a balance. No one is on this other end saying, let's just replace every fucking roll. Like, that's
why
insane.
do they even call it the D20 system? Let's call it the passive system.
Exactly. Like, it's just at this point it just feels dishonest to me. I know that's not, like, you know what you're doing here. I don't know, I listened to the 4E episode, I'm still recovering, fair enough. I've always had players roll per scene. Yeah, with passive perception taken into account. Exactly. Like, so this is the other thing. If they don't call, like, if they don't say they want to search a room, they don't search a room. I don't passive perception them to thing. Why would they, like, unless it's something that is super noticeable because of their passive perception, like a fucking glinting handle of a pickaxe in the wall, right? That's just, like, as they pass by with their torch, it glints in such a way, right? If it's something that's needed to be seen, sure, then I'll give them it. But if it's something inconsequential, then I'll be like, yeah, okay, let's keep going, I guess. There's no reason for you to pay attention to this room. You don't care about it, so why would you care about it?
Must say that saving time for the sake of saving time is not always a good thing. I could save lots of time in my life by not taking showers or not talking.
Where are we?
Dude,
no one's saying this. You're strawmanning again.
Yeah, this straw man has gotten a little ridiculous.
Your straw man is soggy with your shower that you're saving.
Oh God!
I just no one is saying let's just save as much time as possible. No, we're saying, hey, sometimes things take a while, and we only have a certain amount of time. We can find ways to speed it up, and this is a way. Fuck, dude.
Yes, I understand that if you swing the pendulum too far either way, people are going to get bonked.
Yeah.
That is kind of what everyone was doing. Like, okay, so okay. So everyone had a system where they said, hey, we can shave off a few minutes here.
Yep.
And we went, okay. And we were all sitting here, all playing, all having fun, all having a good day. And then you kicked in the door and then said, hey guys, don't try to like save hours at a time. And we went, what? And you went, showers. And we went, okay.
Exactly. Oh man. It's just bad. Once you're resorting to straw men for your arguments against a straw man, it's like, okay. A supposed straw man, at least to me. With the one that we're going against.
Technically, yeah, because like what I'm doing is technically straw manning, but it's also just kind of paraphrasing.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's not straw manning. You're going off of the point. Like, you've covered all the basics of the point that he's made. Like, it's just an over exaggerated example of the same logic. It's just crazy. If we're gonna straw man everywhere, then fucking get me the fucking hay farm, my man. I can give you so many. Fucking why should we play D&D at all? Fuck it. Like,
yeah, I could save a lot of time by not playing D&D.
Yeah, and I fucking bet he's gonna say it. Oh my god.
You know what? What's something I could save 14 minutes and 45 seconds by doing?
Not watching this fucking video. Saving time with not showering? You're wasting time because everyone is having to deal with your nasty smell. That's right. Like, I had a player smell so bad we had to take breaks. We have had talks about hygiene. It caused so much waste of time. Exactly. Strawman is weak against Splash Woman. That's right. A strawman.
Your strawman is weak against the shower you don't want to take.
That's right. Oh my god.
To my wife, or not feeding my cats, or not playing D&D.
There it is.
There it is.
I think we'd all agree that I'd be missing out on some really cool stuff, and I'd be bringing on some pretty bad consequences. But Luke, there are some people who don't take showers. Yeah, let's consider that an outlier, shall we? Please. Anyway, it's the same way in D&D. You can save time by using more passive mechanics, but that doesn't necessarily make the game better. If saving time equates to a better game, then we can have the very best games of our lives by not even showing up to D&D night and spending zero time. I've also heard the phrase, don't waste time by rolling dice. And it's said as though players don't like rolling dice. I don't know about your players, but I rather suspect my players like rolling dice. In fact, my players...
Okay, so I don't trust you. First off, I don't trust that is what they meant when they said that. I will give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they were talking about not wasting time doing too many dice rolls, like unnecessary dice rolls, to the extent of this is a scene that you can see these things, and your passive perception allows you to see all of the things here without you having to roll for it. So you can roll for things that actually matter to you or to the story. I don't trust you. I just don't. I try to every video. I really do. Fuck.
And in every video, you know what he does?
Yeah.
He makes you regret it.
He does. The hyperbolic statements are fantastic. Oh, absolutely. Oh, it's just people fucking like this. people listen to this and say this is correct. Because they don't think about it. They just go, yeah, he said if you didn't take a shower and all that shit, you would be dire consequences because you would be not wasting time. It's like, yeah, so that means that your entire point is correct. It's like, yeah, no, God.
Have some respectable dice collections going on. Dice collections that border on
This
serious
has no
addiction.
relevance.
I really doubt they'd assemble such quantities of dice if they didn't like rolling them. So that's rather another point in favor of rolling dice and using passive mechanics sparingly. Number 2.
Okay. So the point of using dice is you don't, if you waste too much time, there'll be dire consequences, and they make a lot of dice, and people like dice. Okay. Good. Thank you. Good.
Okay. So first off, right?
Yeah.
While I'm in favor of his, like, if we're going to reduce this into a binary situation,
Right.
I am in his I like rolling dice camp.
Me too.
Because I am myself a dice goblin
I like
and
dice.
have a collection of sets of dice that is growing uncomfortably close to 40.
Jesus Christ. All right. You like dice more than me.
Plastic crack, man.
My plastic crack is different.
Yeah.
We all have something.
So here is the thing, right?
Yeah.
While I support his quote unquote camp, you can't just say people like collecting dice, so thus they would like rolling dice.
Yeah. I don't know about
those 2 points are unrelated.
Let's take another situation. People collecting...
Oh no, my point's still ongoing.
I understand. Sorry.
Secondly, I find the logic in his video of, like, he sort of sat down and storyboarded out his script.
Yep.
And it feels like when he was writing on the clipboard what his arguments were going to be.
Yep.
And he wrote those 3 arguments. Yep. And was like, yeah, these are acceptable arguments. Reeks of middle school.
Dude. Yes. You're right. You're absolutely correct. Oh, no.
And the fact that you think that this is acceptable levels to debate people on makes me a bit concerned for the levels of conversation that you share with people in your daily life.
I honestly think he doesn't care about the arguments because he's doing it to straw men. I think he knows this.
He's doing it for the clicks,
yes.
And the video is still ongoing.
Yes.
Because of the algorithm.
Yes, exactly. I think he knows the system, so he's doing it.
Like, he just needs to kill time.
Yeah. He's got to get to at least 10 minutes.
You know what I would love to see?
What?
A video that was, like, 10 minutes long of just, like, titled, I made this video to beat the algorithm, so here it is.
Yeah.
And it's just like a blank wall for 10 minutes. Nothing happens.
Right, yeah. And you just give great clickbait for it and get all the SEO that you need in the tags and everything in the description. Yep, that would be great. I would love that video. That would be my favorite video.
And you know what? I would contribute
to
like that video's success by liking it.
Yes, and commenting.
And like, comment, and subscribe.
Indeed. Yep, all of that. I like my dice collection, sir. You should. My amethyst dice collection brings me joy, even if they don't get rolls much now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have literally a set of obsidian dice that were $95.
Yeah.
That I find too pretty and am too scared of chipping them.
That's fair.
So instead, they always sit in the box, and that is where they will stay.
That's the reason why I don't paint as much as I want to, is because the models look so good for my Warhammer figurines that I don't want to ruin them. It's the same thing. Man, collecting Pokemon cards means that you love to play Pokemon. It's not about the value. It's not about that you like the art or anything. It's because you love to put them in your sweaty fucking hands, crinkle them up, and throw them on the field of battle. Like, what is this?
So I would say that I play a good amount of Pokemon, a goodly amount of Pokemon.
Sure.
In fact, I'm playing Pokemon right now.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Because I have like 300 some odd. It's getting closer to 400, frankly. Right. Pokemon whose IVs and EVs and movesets have been like practically perfected.
Yeah.
For online play.
Yep.
I do not play online.
There you go.
Because in my eyes, my Pokemon are the perfect little wonder childs until they lose. And then they're no longer perfect.
You don't want to break that spell.
Now, I've done a few like online battles at like a Christmas party with some coworkers and stuff, and I busted out some real scuffed shit.
Sure, yeah.
Like on turn 1, a +4 attack, +1 defense Lucario.
Jesus Christ.
But I don't like playing online. And all I can think about is him being like, "Oh, people collect dice."
Yeah, that's my point. The fucking logic is not there, my man. It's flawed as fuck. Correlation does not equal causation, my man. Like, See, point 2.
2. Passive mechanics represent a character's basic skill at something. The reason goes something like this. As a bard, I'm really good at playing the lute. I can play basic music with no issues, so I should just be able to use my passive performance for checks. This argument is saying that
Again, it depends on the situation. I would say
depends on the song you're trying to play.
Yeah, I would say if you just want to do just random fucking tunes that have no meaning to you or anything like in general, and you just want to make music around the town and get like coppers, absolutely, fucking, I don't give a shit. That's fine. But if you want to actually make a performance that you're going to earn money from at a reputable establishment, or even just in general in the town itself, or in front of the king or whatever the fuck, you're not gonna be using your passive shit. The fuck?
proficient at something means you should be able to take 10 on the die roll. And I think that that is a dead wrong way of looking at it. Being proficient at something, in fact, means that you add your proficiency modifier to the die roll. You see, there is already a game mechanic that counts for proficiency.
What is this? It's new information. You're saying like, oh, if I'm proficient in something, I shouldn't have to roll. No one said that.
No one said
Literally,
that.
no one has introduced
Now we're on
that.
a different point. It just so
You are the one that has said that, not anyone else.
exactly. And also, hey, guess what? A word can mean more than one thing. A mechanic that is in the book, especially in 5e, can be added upon as you want. Or changed, even. Like, I like proficiency being used as something that makes it so basic shit is not consequential. Okay? I like that because it makes it so that it actually matters that you have proficiency in something. Right? You're on an expedition with your adventuring party, and you have proficiency in healing. Okay? In medicine, frankly. And you you get a little cut. Little cut on your arm. Ooh. It's like, let's say it's like an inch long along your arm, and it's not that deep. Guess what? I'm not gonna make you roll for a fucking healing check, a little medicine check, because, hey man, you know about how to do that. In fact, I think most everyone would. But something maybe a little deeper than that, like, I don't know, a sword cut into your arm, then I would be like, okay, you'd have to roll for that. Sure. Just to see if you can close the wound up, and it's like, in this instance, I'm imagining that we have a little bit more realism in how wounding works. But regardless, it's just more for the narrative in that case, and not really mechanics. It's like, oh man, you're a cook. You have well, cooking isn't a thing anymore. Sorry. Again, the performance thing. It's just like, oh, you want to just play ditties around town and get maybe coppers from strangers. You might make like 5 copper, but like you can do it because you have proficiency in it, because you're skilled. You've done this. That's the reason why you have this proficiency. You've done this for so long that you're proficient.
He has conflated. Just because you're proficient in something doesn't mean you can, like, do a skill without rolling.
Exactly.
In general, I will allow someone to do a skill without rolling, any skill without rolling. However, what he conflates this idea with is the fact that I will allow you to do it well.
Yeah.
Exactly. He conflates you can do it without rolling with you can do it without rolling successfully.
Yes.
So
I can try to reset your leg, but I don't know if I'll do it well, because I've never done it before and I have no training in this.
Like, I will let if someone like a bard were to ask, can I just do this without rolling and just stroll around town and tune a ditty? I'd be like, yeah, sure. What's your modifier?
Yeah.
And I would keep that in mind for how successful their role was.
Yeah.
Or not their role, but their activity
action.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just insane. Be a rogue, problem solved, reliable. Okay, reliable talent. Yeah, he was talking about that, and he was saying that these passive skills fucking ruin that, apparently. Which, if we're doing it the way that he's saying that we're doing it, then yeah, it would. But that's not how we use the fucking passive shit. When you pause the video, he looks like he's in a Sentai pose. Yeah, it's true. It's the look of how dare you interrupt me. Yeah, proficiency isn't mastery, exactly. He's calling the straw soldiers to deal with the nuisance. The straw soldiers is great. I love that. This is terrible.
Called the Proficiency Modifier, which is a bonus you get on your die rolls for being proficient. And in a game like D&D 5th edition that has bounded accuracy, a +2, +3, +4, +5 is a big deal. Allowing the bard then to also take 10 on the roll is going above and beyond. Besides which, the die roll isn't intended to account for the bard's skill at playing the lute, it's intended to account for variables and random chance. You see, the proficiency modifier.
Yeah, but also I would argue that just because it does that doesn't mean that every situation is going to go that way. That's up to the discretion of the DM. If something's going to go smoothly, they can make it go smoothly. Like, if there's no outside factors. Here's my take, okay? We have a vacuum. We have a fucking vacuum, okay? In this vacuum, I will jump, okay? I will jump up, okay? That's it. I'm just jumping normally. Apparently, I have a, 1 in something chance of just breaking my fucking leg. Or, just if we're going to go by ones are critical failures, the way that people do, okay? I have a 1 in fucking 20 chance of potentially breaking my leg. Just in general. Just because. And, sure, I guess that's possible, but also, is it really, the best thing to do in that situation? Would you say that if I just jump normally in a fucking vacuum, there's a floor, oh my god, and then I jump, and then I land, and then I do it again, and again, 20 times. One of those times, I will fucking break my goddamn leg. Apparently. Doing the same thing over and over. With no other variables. I get the proficiency is there to make it so that it's a better roll, but that's when you have to roll. There are situations where you don't have to roll. Just I would love to just ask him if I present them with a scene, just a one of those blurbs from the front of a module that describes the scene. Should I have them roll perception beforehand so that they see it? Because that's what I feel like he's saying to me. That's what he wants.
I as storyteller and narrator won't narrate unless you roll me above a 15.
Yeah, it's just... All right, time to warp to the president.
The module says they encounter a crowded fair, but I don't know, do they see
Yeah,
one?
exactly. It's so insane that I feel like that's where we're at. All right, time to warp to the president. I'm going to assume that I missed some insanity. Yes, a little bit.
You're not rolling perception on this.
Fire represents your skill at playing the lute. The die roll represents random chance and other variables. Sometimes the bard breaks a string and the barkeep kicks him out. Sometimes the bard really nails it and the audience goes nuts.
Okay, so then in that logical sense, if we're going to go by raw, and that's, I assume, where we're going, there's no such thing as critical failures for skill checks. So why are we even making this an argument? It's not in the rules. If we're going to be going by this shit, and we're supposedly going by the rules, it's not in the rules. So their skill at that means that they can never have that kind of critical failure. They might potentially do poor at their performance with a 6 at the most, I suppose, if they don't.
It's so infuriating to try to argue with someone who then bends the rules in the way 5e works mid-argument.
Yeah.
It's the most bad faith shit ever.
He's absolutely fucking moving the goalposts every time. And it's just why? You want to make a fucking cohesive video here that you can, give to your following to convince them of this thing? You're making horrible points. Horrible arguments here. Anybody with a fucking mind and any sense of the rules or any sense of the system at all would go, no, this isn't... What? No. And I don't want to. I'm not gonna say that that's your audience. That's not what I don't mean to imply that. I'm just saying that it's just poor, and you should respect your audience more. Because this is fucked.
So I really think that the argument of using passive mechanics to represent a character's basic skill at something indicates a lack of understanding of basic game mechanics. When to use passive.
I would say that, first off, that if the mechanic wasn't stated in the book, then this would never have been an issue, because we would just be doing it the way that we've always been doing it, and it would be fine. Okay, it's just that it's there. Just that it's there. And it's causing an issue because you can interpret it the way that you're interpreting it. They needed more detail, I guess.
Mechanics. Okay, so if I dislike passive skill checks so much, is there a time that they should be used? Yeah. Number 1, to prevent metagaming. Whenever something is going on behind the scenes that you don't want the players to be alerted to, you use passive mechanics. The most common case of this is when enemies are sneaking up on the characters, trying to remain hidden and quiet. If in that moment I ask my players to all roll perception checks, I've just alerted them that there is something to be perceived. Even if they all fail the check, the players will know they missed something. Now, yeah, good players will avoid metagaming, but they know something is up. At any rate, when the bugbears drop...
Okay, just because they have knowledge, that doesn't mean anything. So? As long as they don't act on that knowledge, it's not a problem. There's nothing wrong with this.
No, actually, I will side with him on this. If they know and they don't act on it, it can still be a problem as a storyteller, because you want to surprise your players and your characters. Your characters are going to be surprised no matter what, but you risk spoiling the surprise for your players.
Yes, yeah. Oh, apparently the stream went down. What happened? My bitrate is just gone.
Oh, so it's dead.
Yeah, it's just gone. What the fuck? Yet I'm still talking to you, so it's...
Yeah, you evidently have some internet.
Oh, it's just... Yeah, it's just... Is it that time of the fucking day where... Oh, there, it's starting to come back slowly. It's very tiny. What the fuck? What happened? Hang on. Sucks. Why is this? Why? Why? Oh well. I guess we'll continue, unfortunately. So it'll just be people in the VOD who see this shit. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I guess it can kind of ruin that surprise a bit, but so I would say that the surprise could still be there though, right? Because they don't know what it is. Just that there could be something there, right?
Yeah, it just dulls it though.
That really depends on the people and you more so as the DM if it's dulling it for you, I guess.
So if I were to go, hey Alejo, I got you a Christmas present. It'll be arriving in the mail soon. Sure. You go, oh cool, and you would still be happy to receive the present, but it wouldn't be as much of a surprise because you were expecting a package.
Sure.
He wants to have his cake and eat it too.
Right. Which sure. But that's not always possible. It's basically my point. Right? Yeah. So unfortunate, but okay.
From the ceiling on top of them, the players aren't really surprised, and that dramatic moment is cheapened because I tipped my hand by asking for a perception check. So in the case of enemies stealthing, I always use characters' passive perception. Now this doesn't just have to apply to perception, of course.
But this ruins the system. Don't forget. Like, using this ruins everything.
Perception. Now this doesn't just have to apply to perception, of course. You could use this with insight and other skills. But Luke, someone will say,
like performance?
Yeah, like any other skill. Fucking hell.
I swear we have a lot of these people.
Remind me after the stream is over, I want to make an analogy to you.
Okay. Let me put one more thing in the chat really quick. We're going to continue on if you're still in the chat. Everything will be on the VOD on Friday, though. Okay, there we go.
My player roll a perception check when searching for a secret door or trap, and they roll a 1, they and other players might metagame. So we're right back where we began. Nice. Yeah, I've been there. In fact, in one of my very first D&D games, a player rolled super low to search for secret doors and concluded that there wasn't a secret door there. Then, wouldn't you know it, like 2 seconds later, another player was like, I want to search for secret doors there too. And we all knew the reason. The only reason they did that was because the first character rolled low. So yeah, there was clearly metagaming. The question here really is, what's the lesser of two evils? Do I decapitate the exploration pillar, or do I allow the opportunity for metagaming?
Man, that's like two just completely fucking huge sides of the spectrum. Okay. Like, we're diverging too.
Yeah.
Like, there's no middle ground here, I guess.
The middle ground for me is they can search, sure. But they won't find anything. The DC has gone way up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's gonna be just because, like, if they're going to use that information, first off, I would hope that they wouldn't, because hey, we talked about. I mean, I would hope that we have some knowledge of how metagaming works, but also, like, fucking somebody else didn't find something. Potentially you could find something, but it's definitely, like, if it is totally inspired by the fact that is the, like, they tried to find it, then I'm like, why would you, like, why? Like, I will ask you for your character's reason, because it, according to your friend there, they are pretty sure there's nothing else. Oh, I don't trust my character. Oh, okay. Or that character. Oh, okay. Well, then that's unfortunate. I guess you can try to search, and then they do, and they don't find anything. Like, it might have been there. It should still be there, but they can't find it. You don't reward that shit. That's the way that works.
In my case, I've decided that a little metagaming is better than obliterating the exploration pillar. Number 2, to gauge average character abilities during...
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
The fun thing to do is, if you ask why, and they say, oh, my character doesn't trust so-and-so, you go, okay, and the little words appear in the corner of the screen. DM will remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
And if next session they say something and you believe them, I'll go, actually, you have the feeling that they may be lying.
Right, yeah. You don't fully trust that that's true.
Yeah.
It must just be to YouTube. Did YouTube go down? No, I'm also bad with Discord, apparently. Are you hearing me at least?
Yeah, no, I'm actually hearing you steadily for the first time tonight so far.
Okay, weird.
You have joined me in lag hell.
Well, so it keeps going up and down in green and yellow and red for Discord as well. So I don't know what's going on. Somebody's
starting. You're starting to fluctuate, but like, you've been pretty steady to me.
Weird. Okay. I don't know, man. Maybe somebody started uploading or something fucking happened, but man, that sucks. Anyway.
game design. When you're designing an adventure or trap or skill challenge, it's often useful to know what the character's average skill at X, Y, or Z is. This allows you to design meaningful challenges for the group that are neither too easy nor too hard. For instance, if I'm making a level 3 adventure and I have a DC 25 Thieves Tools check to pick a lock, that lock's not gonna get picked. It's pretty much impossible. So I probably want to make it something more reasonable, unless my point is precisely that, to make it impossible. Transition to a level 18 group and a DC 25 Thieves Tools check is suddenly not that unreasonable. In fact, if they have a rogue or anyone else with high dexterity who's also proficient in Thieves Tools, they will most likely make that ability check. Click on the screen now to learn about my newly released Insanity system, or to become a DM Layer patron and get an issue of Layer magazine every month and play D&D with me. And until next time, a package of bacon a day keeps the doctor away. That's not true, guys. Yeah.
Neat. I have minor contentions with this video. Oh no, we've already gone all over my contentions.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I've said all I need to say about it. It's just not it's not good. I just,
This was Schrodinger's clickbait, and we opened the video.
That's
right. And it settled from a hyperposition of both to solely into bad.
Yeah, it really did. It's super fucking did. All right. Well, unfortunately, I think that's all we're gonna cover tonight because my internet is fucking dying, apparently. So, unfortunately, I think maybe we'll save comments for next time.
Okay. Yeah.
Because usually that's, more of an interactive kind of thing. So unfortunately, if you left a comment 2 weeks ago, it's still gonna be another week until we respond to it. But I will still thank our patrons, because they give us money. So, but that's the only kind of shilling that I'll do today. So thank you to our patrons. That is, and I will go to here and then here. That is, of course, to, from the top, Draco Kraken, at tier 4, thank you. Mog0, also at tier 4, thank you as well. Rick, aka Unit Rico, at tier 4, thank you. Slazer, also at tier 4, thank you as well. Steely, at tier 4, thank you so much. Drake Cross, at tier 3, thank you as well. Chris, at tier 2, thank you. Frozen Spaghetti at tier 2, thank you as well. Kill Chrono at tier 2, thank you so much. And finally, last but not least, Reptile Commander Lux at tier 2, thank you as well. So yeah, thanks for checking it out and hanging out when the thing was live. If you're seeing this in the VOD, again, thank you. And we'll see you next week for hopefully a more stable stream. So goodbye
now. Indeed, I wish you safe travels, traveler. Goodbye now.